Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Box Seats. This is the show where we talk to comedians about sports. Let's get ready to jump into the thing. You know how we got to get this show started up front. First up, my man, Talent. Talent, how you doing, sir?
You know, my dog got mad gas. He lighted me up.
That's not something we wanted to know about. That's on that borderline too much information.
No, I got to suffer. You got to suffer. You want me on the show? This happened to be the hour he let him loose.
I'm glad you're suffering over there and not over here.
Good though. How are you?
Come on, good to see you. Good to see you. Also, let me bring my man Fig in the picture. Fig, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. I love the way you start the show, Frank. You was like, okay.
Yeah, Frank acted like he didn't know he had a show.
I know. Yeah. Like he was surprised that we was on.
The thing was stuck. I was like, oh, okay, it's working. It's working. Oh, Amir's in the building. Amir, what's cracking, sir? How you doing, sir?
What's going on?
Look at that boy. Amir, tell you if I was a girl, I'd holler at you, boy. Look at you.
That's the shot. That's the shot. All right, so let's get ready to jump into the show. I'm gonna start things off with you, Talent, man. I don't know if you guys heard this. I'm probably sure you guys didn't because you guys don't really follow hockey news like on that. But slightly a little bit of bad news for Maple Leaf star Mitchell Marner. He was a victim of carjacking in Toronto over the weekend. It looked like somebody pulled up on him, jumped out on him, and they took his black Range Rover at gunpoint on actually Monday night. Now the crazy thing about this is they don't know what the people look like. They don't know what color they were, nothing. And some people have speculated because they lost the series, that's why he got carjacked, because Maple Leafs lost Game 7. It's crazy to say that, Talent, but it's the police are thinking that's a great possibility because they were really mad at him. He's the star of the team. They really mad at him, and they carjacked him, bro. Now I know that's crazy to say. Well, do you think that's a possibility? That's why he got carjacked because the team Maple Leafs lost Game 7. What you think, T?
First of all, this is a catastrophe. It was Monday. Everybody know you don't carjack on Monday. You rob people and you carjack not that I'm telling people how to do it. You do it at the end of the week. People got paid, they got money in their pocket. Monday? You might as well just get in and get a ride to Starbucks because that's all he got on the Monday. You got coffee money. You ain't got nothing real substantial. But you can't rule nothing out. First of all, when you said carjacking, the reason I started smiling, borderline laughing, I'm like, it's Canada. You ain't got no guns or nothing. They stuck him up with a toothbrush. And you said gunpoint? I tell you one thing. Anybody that knows how it is on the other end of that barrel, that's how you know when you really got a gun in your face because you can't give a description. That gun blurs everything out. Everything. Your mind is just on. I just want to live through this thing. Anytime somebody pointing a gun, there's nothing to really laugh at. So, and you can't rule out because people these days, as we have learned in the news, are what you call the fan is short for the word fanatic, and people are living up to every inch of the word. So I wouldn't doubt it. I can see that.
Yeah, Fig, I'm gonna throw this out to you and say that the police are speculating that it could have been because the Toronto Maple Leafs lost over the weekend. He's the star of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do you think it was literally just a random act? Do you think it was because it happened or a random act? What's your take on it when you look at it? And you hear, now mind you, we don't know all the facts and everything else, but stuff seems to be lining up like he did get carjacked because, the Toronto Maple Leafs lost. You know what I mean? So what's your take on this, Fig?
Man, it's a hell of a coincidence, man, that you lose a series and then all of a sudden they come and take your car at gunpoint. You say, what did they look like? Well, it was black. I think one was steel and he had a big hole in the middle of his head. Let me tell you something, man. I don't know listen, I don't know. I didn't know that hockey fans was this bad, but let me tell you something. I'd rather play hockey than play soccer. Because you play soccer, they kill you if you mess around and lose for them, boy. I'm like, oh, no. I don't know. They get paid a lot of money to play soccer. And if you lose a game or do something crazy, them fans will kill you. I'll take hockey for 1,000.
Yeah, but you know what, man? The crazy thing is there's a lot of people who gamble a lot on hockey, too. So it could have been something related with gambling and everything else. You know what I mean? Somebody might have been upset. It could have been mafia related. You know, I mean, until the police get obviously, figure this whole thing out. It could have been, now, this, of course, this is my speculation. I'm just saying it. It could have been that this dude was literally something to do with the mafia, and they might not like that the way he performed and everything. I mean, there's a whole lot of things, as you unravel this thing, he's a star player, and all of a sudden he didn't perform well in Game 7, and next thing you know, he gets carjacked. They lose on Sunday, he gets carjacked on Monday. There's an awful lot of coincidence there, man. What's your take?
It is, but the thing that really just strikes you is, I mean, obviously, I guess there's people getting jacked everywhere, but it just sounds so odd to hear that somebody got carjacked. Period. Like when did they bring that back? I don't know if it ever went out of style, but I'm like, when did they bring it back?
Right.
But it's just like you said, the timing of it is very suspect. And then the mere fact that, whatever the circumstances are, and it again, like you said, to your point, they jacked the range from them. So whoever was, making this particular situation manifest itself, they knew what they was doing, because that's not a random situation. You very rarely hear of somebody jacking a truck. They'll jack some cars, but it's very rare you hear somebody jacking a truck, because trucks have the ability to, peel off. You can roll over stuff, and he was in a range, so that means he had that capability. But it just goes to show you that, unfortunately, to a point that Talon made a little bit earlier with the word fanatic, some of these fans, we keep talking about how out of control some of them can be, and I guess we really are going to have to, pray for, some of these players who may or may not be showing up in these Game 7s. And we've been seeing a lot of Game 7s lately, so I hope this is not a trend. You know what I mean?
I know one thing. Carjacking in the state of Massachusetts is guaranteed 15 years. I don't know what it is in Canada, but if you get caught carjacking and they catch you, you start at 15, and then they figure out how much they offer you after. So I don't know about the country, but I know in the state of Massachusetts, my mother's born there, so
I'm just glad they don't carjack in New York, man, because if you carjack in New York, boy, the Knicks would be in trouble.
Well, carjacking in Massachusetts is different. You guys are Commonwealth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Commonwealth is different. It's different when you're still a car, you're still a boat. You're still a boat in Boston. They make you sit through a whole tea party.
We walked into that. My man Dave, the business bully, is joining the show. I ain't seen you since was winning. How you doing, Dave?
I've been listening to a lot of Brian McKnight and letting the water in the shower cascade over my my body to ease the pain of getting our asses kicked, Frank.
Hey, let me look at you. Let me look at you. Sit up.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to you. We're gonna come back to you. But Dave, throw this out there. Tell me what your thoughts are about hearing about a hockey star. Game 7, they lose. Hockey star's name is Mitchell Marner. He plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They literally lose on Sunday. He gets carjacked on Monday, and the police are speculating there's a lot more foul play than off the top. What you think? You think it has something to do with them losing the game, or you think it was just completely random that he got carjacked?
No. Either this dude has pissed off God in a way that has not been heard of since Job, or it's the fact that they lost. I mean, I think that's what it is. You know how crazy fans can be, and especially hockey fans. You want to know why? Because hockey fans can do things that football fans or basketball fans can't particularly do. I'm not saying it's white privilege. I'm saying it's puck privilege. And as a result of puck privilege, these things continue to happen, Frank. You can get carjacked for losing the Game 7.
Yeah, you literally could. These things can happen. They can happen. But let's jump into the NBA.
Biblical.
Let's jump into the NBA. We're going to talk about some couple of things. I saw a couple of stories before we jump into the big news that's getting ready to happen tonight, man. I don't know if you guys heard about this news, but the Chicago Bulls have serious concerns about Lonzo Ball's knee. It seems like it's more of a stress fracture, and they think right now, they're reporting that he's going to be out a lot longer. NBCS in Chicago is reporting that he's going to be out a lot longer than that first speculated, and he might miss the first half of the upcoming season. The Chicago Bulls, needless to say, are very upset because their team doctor said it wasn't as serious as it's being reported. So when you hear about Lonzo Ball's knee, everything else, because they were expecting Lonzo Ball to come back. We all saw Chicago for the first half of the season, if we remember. They were leading, in the Eastern Conference. They were the best team in the East for the first half of the season. Lonzo gets hurt. A couple other people get hurt. Things change. The next thing you know, obviously they're out of it. What you think about this if you're Chicago Bulls management, T? What's your take?
I think you need to start believing in the ball curse. I think the father inadvertently put a curse on them boys, man, because the boys, they can play this game at a high level. But distraction after distraction, they spending more time in doing things than focusing on the court and all that, and the shoe line. And I mean, these guys were in the news more than LeBron at one point. So I think that all that sidebar stuff pays, tribute to these injuries. And part two of that is fire your team doctor, fire your team medical staff. If your team medical staff comes back with a prognosis or a diagnosis that a regular doctor step in and go, no, hell no, you're going to need 10 more years out. Fire that dude. You fire that dude. Yeah, what's up with the ball? Did you check him out? Yeah, it's a pimple. Once we pop it, he's going to be good. It's a tumor. If you mess up a pimple, the second doctor come in, we need to see if it's benign. He told you it was a pimple. That's what this is like. If your team does, you get a couple of weeks off, whatever. You go over the guy like, he might need to sit out half a year. That's a big difference, Frank.
Yeah. I ain't even mad at that synopsis that you gave, T, because it's pretty clear. Fake Chicago Bulls doctors, their medical staff, they really got to get a good hard look at them there, because the way their diagnosis of Lonzo Ball was not really accurate, bro. This dude has like a stress fracture. It's worse than Zion's. You know what I mean? And Zion's was pretty bad. It's going through his knee too. What's your take on this, Fig?
I think you guys are hilarious using synopsis and benign. Is that an 8? No, that's a B9.
Not a B9.
I mean, listen. The thing is about team doctors, man, is this is not uncommon. The job of the team doctor is to get the athlete back on the field, back on the court, or back playing as soon as possible. So any injury that a player gets, the first thing the doctor's going to say is, he'll be back shortly, man. It's not a big deal, man. It's no big deal. And that's what team doctors do. We think about it, the history. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about Kevin Durant. When he almost tore his Achilles, they said, no, it was a calf. We got, what's his name? Kawhi Leonard, who ever since the team doctor said that his injury was minor, he was out a year with San Antonio. Then he goes to another team, and he goes to Toronto. He sits out a while. Now he's with the Clippers, and we ain't see Kawhi Leonard in like a year. Mm-hmm. But the team doctor said, this ain't no big deal. He's been out for since forever.
Yeah, that's a great point that's great points that Fig said. Maybe these teams should get a doctor to look, but to double check behind the other doctors' work. You know what I mean? Maybe they need to triple check stuff right now.
Maybe these ain't real team doctors. Maybe these are team nurses.
And they're giving out massages.
But what you're faced with, in all fairness, is you're faced with situations where, again, to Fig's point, you're right. The team doctor's job is to tinker and to try to, keep the players as close to usable as possible. The players themselves, though, have to understand or go through a process where they're saying to themselves, look, if I come back early, the long-term effect of this may be, way more worse over a compounded moment than if I just went back and was like, all right, I'm just going to play. So I think the fact that a lot of these players are doing, their due diligence and bringing in their own doctors and saying, hey, I need a second and maybe a third opinion based off of how I know how I feel. Because as an athlete, when you're capable of performing versus what other people might think you're capable of. So I think we're up against that much more so than anything. It's just a matter of the player versus what the team is going to get out of them in terms of usage. And, when it comes to money, and I know Business Bully will probably, clear this part up, they're looking to get the most bang they can get for their buck. They don't care about all that other stuff. We need you suited and booted.
Yeah, they really don't care about how long you're out. Dave, what's your take on this?
The first thing I want to say, Frank, is Amir's On point as usual. The thing that bothers me is we act like they care about these athletes. Did anybody listen to History Past, Present, and Future, book 1 by Michael Jackson in 1995? All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. They got a whole bunch of other kids that are going to come into the NBA with absolutely no problem. If they blow a knee out, who cares? It happens all the time because it's not about the care of these athletes. That's why if you blow your knee out, guess what? It is what it is. And I am sick and tired of people, producers, and no offense, Frank, it's not just you, it's the entire industry coming down on LeVar Ball for being the one thing that the majority of our people didn't have, and that is a good father. That father not only took care of himself and his wife, but he took care of 3 other sets of balls. At what point do you not take into consideration LeVar's ball handling is absolutely extraordinary? But of course, one ball gets blown out, and now all of a sudden everybody want to cry, oh, it's the daddy's fault. And he's been quiet for so long. I am tired of you manipulating the balls as if they are a problem. And then you brush past them and it's like, oh, well, it's LeVar Ball's fault. No, don't brush past the balls. They are phenomenal.
We walked right into that one.
Yo, the balls
walked into the balls.
The ball's on this guy, Frank.
Yeah, I know. Rodney Perry joined the show. Rodney Perry, how you doing, sir?
I couldn't have put it better, Bully. And it's interesting because I don't know if you guys seen this story, but Dick Vermeil and
there we go.
and the Ball brothers have been doing business. So it's always
the best coach for balls is Dick.
Yo, this dude is crazy.
Dick and Balls are always getting together. And,
yeah, we're gonna move on to the next story. All right, so all right, so you're up first. I'm gonna throw this out to you. I don't know if you heard this, right? But Rajon Rondo is in the news, and it's not for something good. This dude pulled out a gun on his baby mama, waved the gun and put it to her head, according to reports and everything else. She had to get a restraining order against him in Louisville, Kentucky. And Rajon Rondo got arrested. Obviously, looks like he got bailed out last night. I've seen a lot of stories on how much money he got bailed out, different discrepancies and everything else. But it's another athlete who has an argument with his baby mama. Another athlete got a restraining order and everything else. And Rajon Rondo is at the tail end of his career anyway. He plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers. What's your take on this, T, when you hear about Rajon Rondo getting arrested for pulling a gun out on his baby? Now, he's been with this woman for years.
First of all, it sound mad funny when you said, his career is almost over. He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the way you said that. That's very dumb funny. He was like, anyway, his career is almost over.
It's over now, though.
That's how he said it. Here's the thing. I think we need to take a second look at all of these athletes at the end of these important games and series who be having their kids in their arm. They be doing the interview with the kid in the arm. Yeah, man, we just came out here. We got together as a team and did what we had to do and we move on. You know what I'm saying? It's a tough team. They gave us a hell of a shot to get the kid in the arm. Those be the ones. Them be the ones because they trying to get some positive press as a dad. The real fathers who never get in this kind of trouble be the ones be in the interview be like, yeah, no, I told the man we just got a full court press. Sit your ass down. And once we got the pressing of the ball, you see we had a 10-0 run and we came back and the coach deserves all the credit. Them be the fathers don't make the news behind this type of stuff. The ones holding the baby, because I can show you probably like 5 in the game, big games when he was on the Lakers. Boss, get the kid all up in the arm doing the interview. Them be the ones. So you mean to tell me, and he been with this lady a minute. He done pulled the gun out, which I don't understand that. Like, what happened to the good old days? Like, you just, you just use your hands. A little shake, shift them, and it works. What's all this gun pulling and that? I don't get it, man. Again, these are the allegations, Frank. I always like to try to hold judgment, full judgment anyway, till it all comes out. But if he's guilty of this, bro, shame on him. And I barely was creeping into the Rondo fandom. I'm creeping my ass back out.
For the For those watching the show, thank you for watching the show. The news and the views of the persons who are watching or speak of this is not that we held for Humor Mill. We don't fully responsible for this. We are not.
Wait, you said that you disclaimer for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Is that for the Cleveland? Because it can't be for the shaking.
I'm doing this. I'm doing a full disclaimer right now. The news, the views of what talent and what these comics say is not, Fig. Honestly, do you think Rondo's career is over now that this news come out? I mean, all jokes aside and everything else, man. When you playing in the NBA right now, the NBA is coming down real hard on these dudes who are domestic violence. Fig, what's your take?
You know, when you're an athlete of Rondo's age and you end up in Cleveland, yeah, your career is it's just about over because he's not the veteran that you keep on your team because they're a veteran. Rondo's always been a loose cannon. That's why Ray Allen left Boston because Rondo, he pulled the gun on Ray Allen in the locker room. Ray said, I can't take this. I'm going to Miami and play with LeBron because Rondo is crazy. You know what? And I can tell you something else, man, on a serious note. I don't understand guys pulling out guns on women. I'm from an era where if you pulled out your gun, you're supposed to use it. Period. If you need to pull your weapon, it's because you need to protect yourself or you're going to do something. And if you're not going to do nothing and you pull your gun, then you're probably going to get got later on. So you don't play those games. That's how I came up.
Amir, what's your take on this, man? Do you think Rondo's basically done? And do you think the NBA is going to do something about this with, whether, obviously whether the news and criminal justice, reform takes place? What's your thoughts on this, Amir?
I think Rondo is definitely going to be made an example of, and it's going to be much like what happened with Hibachi. I can't think of his real name right now, but the young man that played for the Washington Wizards and is no longer in the league. To bring a gun into a situation, regardless to whatever the magnitude of it is, and especially if it's not life-threatening, is sad. But in Rondo's case, it's even more sad because to the information that has been divulged to this point, it just sounds as though Rondo was having seemingly a bad day with his family or whatever. Rondo, you got to walk that off, sir. You get in the car, go take a drive, maybe go out in the backyard and scream into the air or something like that, whatever, your situation is. But most certainly you don't, pull a gun on your family under any circumstance, unless, again, like I said, it's life-threatening and you realize that you have to, protect your family in that way. Rondo does appear to be a bit of a loose cannon. He seemed like that even in the early Boston days when we were, fans of his work, especially during that time. And if you look at, because there's video out of him fighting NBA players here and there. So Rondo's always had, a bit of a temper. It just is sad, though, that at the tail end of your career, you may leave this kind of mark versus the mark that you left early on in your career, which was a point guard who always seemed to be prepared for the big moments.
I think
and I hope that, this doesn't mar the situation.
I want to just take a pause for a second. I want to congratulate Trina Pinkard, one of the people who've been watching the show for a long time. The ladies always support us and everything else, so we got to pay attention to what the ladies are doing too also. Trina Pinkard looked like she graduated over the weekend, and she got her, I'm not sure if it was her MBA or she got a degree this weekend. Trina, I'm sorry, I forgot which degree it was, but first of all, congratulations for getting some kind of college degree. That's huge in all walks of life anyway. You graduated alone. We got to, gentlemen, we got the
it looks like she graduated, you said.
No, she definitely graduated. I'm not sure what she did. There it is. MSL Strategic Leadership right there. Congratulations to Trina and doing that. That's big ups to Trina. You all know how hard it is to graduate, so I want to congratulate her for that.
Yes.
Moving on, Bully, do you think the NBA is going to look at this right now and do something with Rajon and make him an example of? Because we all know, bro, they don't play with this type of stuff. You know what I mean? They just don't play.
Using Rajon Rondo as an example to shape up the rest of the NBA is like using me as an example for a Speedo model. Although I have lost 150 pounds, you don't want to see this outside of this shirt, Frank. Let's just be honest here. Have you seen Rajon Rondo? Have you looked at him lately? Listen, that hairline has been pushed back more than Dr.
Yo.
Dre's detox. Okay. On top of that, the problem is that this black man is a cuckolded, whooped piece of garbage who should have read a book. In 1991, Shahrazad Ali put out a book called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And instead of pulling out a gun, what he should have done is try to slap her in the mouth. And I think that's what happened, but he didn't read the book first, and she started to whoop his ass, so he pulled out a gun. That's what happens when we start using these people who don't have sense enough to realize that the barber done took your hairline back and you absolutely have nothing else to show for it. This man is disgusting and despicable. Who's he? Like, who? What 18, 19, 22-year-old is going to look at Rajon Rondo and be like, oh, yeah, you know what? Look what they did to that guy. I'm so worried about my bonus.
Roger Bro, you got 2 cents you want to throw into this?
First of all, the bully has to be stopped. Okay? Goes on these tangents. He got guns and balls in the story, man.
Guns and balls.
Guns and balls.
Anyway, Rondo is absolutely in trouble. But the upside, if there's any, is there's no video. I mean, the NFL and NBA historically doesn't move until they have to. And even with Ray Rice, they knew about it. But then the video surfaced and they made a move. So if there's no video, Rondo may be fine. Believe it or not. Good luck.
You know what? All jokes aside, he might be right. We never know because obviously it's all about money. Next up, man, I got to talk to you about this T. We talked a little bit about this yesterday when you were hosting the show, and it looked like it's continuing on. It's about obviously Pat Beverly. Pat Beverly gets on the air yesterday, and he dogs CP3 and everything else. He gets on the air again today. He dogs him again today. Yesterday on NBA Today, Matt Barnes came to his defense. Dame Lillard came to his defense. CP3's defense and everything else. And it looks like that they're going back and forth in the media and everything else. See, what's your take on Pat Beverly speaking out about calling CP3 a cone and I mean, all kinds of negative things. Like he said, now for those of you who don't know, he said that CP3 can't guard nobody. He just went on and on and on about CP3. He said CP3 can't do much to anybody. He said, we in the NBA, we call him a cone. He said he gets a lot of calls. He does a lot of hacking. I mean, he just went on and on and on about this and everything else. So, then obviously Matt Barnes called him a clown yesterday. He gets on NBA Today and said all he was missing was his red nose because he got on TV. He was very disrespectful. You know, he said all he's missing was his red nose. He called him a clown. Dame Lillard ends up saying some more. So it's going back and forth. Like it's literally going back and forth. What's your take on Pat Beverly now being in the press, being in the news, and ESPN calling this dude, having him be there the Monday morning right after they lost the Sunday night and they lost badly. They know there's bad blood, so they were trying to push him to move forward. What's your take on this, T?
Well, I'm gonna go back to my grandfather, who's a old vet, World War II and all that. Used to say, it's not so much what they're saying about you. You got to look at where it's coming from. All that we're hearing is coming from problem child after problem child to a beloved player, if you will. So he's a beloved player. So because of his skills alone and that he's beloved, that's one level of hate you're going to get from, your fellow players who don't get that love, who don't have those skills. That's part one. Part two is he made some of himself endorsement-wise. You see him every day on TV. Believe it or not, a lot of these players will be envious of that because they're out there trying to get that endorsement deal and that poster child of this brand or that brand. He got that. And then the biggest thing is player association, the union. He's the big guy in there. And you don't get that just by how many assists you rack up. You're voted in. So a lot of people in your organization got to like you and for you to get that position. And he stands up for the overall group. When you bring on a guy like Patrick Beverly and then you bring on the Matt Barnes, let's face it, you're bringing on back-to-back troublemakers. These guys, that's how they made their bones. So now that they're, he's off, he's kicked out of the playoffs, this other one's retired, they got nothing but time on their hands to be that off the court because what is going to get them? What you're looking at yesterday and today, 15 minutes a tick. You're going to get your fame. You're going to get in front of that camera because you're not playing. You're not getting in front of the camera that way.
Well, I understand what you're saying, See, and everything you said is absolutely right. But Fig, how do you feel about a player of Pat Beverly's status who's not even going to be mentioned nowhere near in the conversation for Hall of Fame to be talking about Chris Paul? Talking about Chris Paul, who is a 15-time NBA All-Star, 9 times Defensive Player of the Year. And I mean, his accolades go on and on. He is considered the top 75 NBA basketball best players of all time. He is considered top 10 best point guards to ever play the game. How you feel about Pat Beverly literally talking about Chris Paul like this on national TV? What's your take on this, Vic?
I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't. And he didn't say, I'm not sure if he said top 10. What I heard was top 5. And then after the guys was like, come on, man, like you gotta, you like, why are you saying this guy's not top 5? He was like, who do you got top 5 that you could take off and put CP3 in? You know what I mean? He said you got Magic Johnson, Curry, there was Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas, Dwayne Wade. Like, who are we taking off this top? Like, people always throw out top this, top that. But when you start naming off the top ranked players, they kind of have a point. And then Matt Barnes coming at Pat Beverly talking about you ain't got a right to talk about players. Well, Matt Barnes was going at a player, and then when the player came back at him, they was like, listen, man, we don't want no problem.
All right, so Fig, I want to make sure I hear this right. Pat Beverly called this dude a cone on national TV. He said he can't defend nobody. You had no problem with that?
He said that's what he said. He said that he was like a basketball cone. He said, who is worried about CP3 guarding them? Now he's talking about CP3 now. He ain't talking about CP3, the rookie. He said we can go right by him right now. He said any point guard right now that CP3 is guarding, we can go around him just like he's a cone. He said you playing them. He said you go out the night before, you have a drink, a little bit of wine, some dinner and stuff like that, and you go to play the game because you're not worried about what Chris Paul's going to do. He said, but if you got to play Steph Curry, he said you're going to bed early. He said you telling your family, don't call me because I got to see this dude tonight, and I don't want tomorrow night, and I don't want no problems. I got to be dialed in and focused. That's all he said, and I don't think he's wrong.
Okay, so that's your take. Amir, CP3 was being compared to another, both Steph Curry and him, they both up there in age. As you're hearing all this and everything else, and I'm sure you heard all about it and everything else. What's your take on Pat Beverly literally talking about CP3 like this on national TV the very next day and saying everything that Fig just said, everything I just said, everything, what's your take on this, Amir? What do you think?
I think you're looking at Pat Beverly, again, a guy who, good, bad, or indifferent, obviously is an important piece to any organization who he becomes a part of. So we'll take that off the shelf. But here's the thing. Whether you love or hate CP3, Pat Beverly, you're somewhat the same kind of player. You can be annoying at times. You could be somebody who is beloved based off of, what the needs of your organization is at the time or whatever the case may be. Just because you may or may not go down in the annals in the same love or the same vein as this man, don't forget, CP3, besides, doing everything he's doing in basketball, and he might have, given up that, if I'm not mistaken, he's also the president of the Players Association. So it's not like the dude is just playing basketball. He's also making sure that your benefits are right, bro. You really want to mess with the dude who's making sure your benefits are good? Like, Come on, knock it off. And everybody will say, Amir, that's not basketball related. But the reality of it all is this. You got a guy who, again, and time again, at least in the last few seasons, has proven to be a part of organizations where he has helped improve those organizations. Plain and simple. Pat Beverly, we can't definitively say that about you. We've seen you have moments, but we can't say that you've definitively gone to an organization and improved that organization just based off the fact that you joined the organization. Right. So come on, bro. Stop hating.
All right, well, Dave, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. When there's an athlete who is critiquing another athlete and the stats are not equal, how do you feel about stats not being equal when an athlete has lesser stats critiquing the athlete who has better stats overall? You know what I mean? What's your take on that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that the numbers are the only thing that makes things equal, but I will also say that it makes a lot of sense to me why Patrick Beverly has lashed out like a little schoolyard girl. A lot of this has to do with the fact that nobody cares. This is the most in the 2 years I've been on this show that we've ever discussed Patrick Beverly. I can't say that about CP3. And sometimes, a wise man told me a long time ago, if a dog howls at the moon, nothing happens. But if the moon howls back at the dog, then the dog is famous. And a lot of this comes down to the fact that this guy does not get the same type of love that Chris Paul gets. So he's whining like a little punk. And I mean, yeah, that's okay. That's your right. But okay.
Rodney Perry, you're the man who always does. I agree. I disagree. You've heard both sides of this. Do you agree or disagree with the statements that's made by obviously by everybody on the panel? And where are you at on this Pat Beverly CP3 thing?
Okay. This is what we're assuming that a person has to be of equal ilk to say anything, and that's just not true. Patrick Beverly, we've taken time to examine his career, but he's a defensive specialist and he's a great player. He is a hater. Pat Beverly is a hater, but he may be right. Okay. He's not the only person that don't like Chris Paul. Lots of players despise this guy. He's a bad teammate. He's lots of people on record. I'm looking at it as you guys were talking. A lot of people on record when CP3 is a horrible guy to play with, right? And he picks and chooses who he mess with. So he had never messed with a guy like Matt Barnes, and so Matt Barnes likes him, but he's only cool with the elite players of the league, right? And he is 37. Which means he's probably a cone. Probably easy to get by these young dudes in the league. That's just what it is. Pat Beverly told the truth. Is he hating on Chris Paul? Absolutely. Pat Bev is a hater, but he's right. He's absolutely right. CP3 is and we know people talk about this for years. CP3 is a piece of doo-doo. Everybody know that. Now nobody's gonna say it because it's one of those things you don't say in public because you get this type of blowback. You get people going, well, what's up with your career? You like, nigga, I'm just saying. The nigga's a bad guy.
Yeah, a lot of people might not like him though because he's the head, because of the way he plays.
They don't like him, but it don't matter why. They don't like him.
Yeah, they don't.
It don't matter why they don't like him.
But they need to like him because he's handling.
No. They don't need to like him, Frank. If everybody don't like you, then it might be you.
They need to like him because this man, like Amir said, is the head of the Players Association. And if he turns around and says, you know what, because Chris Paul got a lot of headway for a lot of players.
I gotta like him for him to do his job. That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem, Frank. As I'm reading about it, is he lets people know who he is and what he is. It's whack, man. CP3 is a horrible guy.
Let's look at the facts. The facts are this.
And he gets cheap calls. He fouls people. He's a little guy. I play like that. People want to fight me.
He did a lot for the NBA players in the last 5 or 7 years since he's been NBA.
That don't mean I have to like him. He's a butthole.
Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to. And most players don't have to. You know what I mean? End of the day, I think if somebody's looking out for my best interest, I'd probably lean on liking that dude if he's looking out for my best. That's just me. Everybody is their own person, But speaking of the Suns, listen, yesterday even Talent brought this up too. The Suns are having some issues, like literally issues. Yesterday, Talent was talking about, DeAndre Ayton, and he brought up some stuff about DeAndre Ayton. Come to find out from last night to this morning, it's even gotten worse. It's gotten worse with DeAndre Ayton's situation than it did yesterday because now DeAndre Ayton is supposed to get a max contract this year. Monty Williams is not even talking about them trying to give him, a max contract. They're literally having discussions about a sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton. Yeah. I'm willing to bet right now that he won't even be on the team by this time next year because of the exact same fact. With that being said, T, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think DeAndre Ayton's character and what's being said right now by the way he acted halfway through the season, do you think that has a lot to do with them not wanting to sign him? Or should they just sign him anyways because of the way he plays and forget about his character and the way he acts?
No, ain't nobody doing that these days, man. Let me explain something to you, bro. One of the big things in sports that will get your ass to the end of the bench or out of the arena or gym is the one word, uncoachable. If your coach tells you to do something, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in the play or not, he's the coach. He's calling the plays. If he tells you to do it and you just refuse, I'm not even, you know what, get somebody else. I'm not even going in. You have just marked yourself uncoachable. That is the quickest way out of this business. It's just, it ain't no different than an actor, and he's not directable. Right. If I can't direct you, bro, I can't put you in these movies. I tell you to cry, you laugh. I tell you to laugh, you cry. You're doing everything wrong. You're no good for me. In sports, it's uncoachable. That's a mark of the belly of the beast nobody wants. And that in a playoff situation, if your coach ain't gave up yet, he's still fighting. Don't give a damn you down 20, 30, 40. Your coach believes I got enough time to chip my way back in and make this thing a game. Then you have to follow what the coach said. You don't come. Imagine if the players woke up one day and we watching a game, playoff game. They go up 25 points, 6 minutes on the clock. We see the player call timeout. All the 5 players just sit down. Coach, I ain't call y'all out. These dudes are sharpshooters. Where y'all going? We good, coach. That should be enough. Send all 5 of them to Siberia.
Yeah.
He played himself by marking himself uncoachable in that very moment. So now, well, you're on the edge of the bed facing a max contract. I don't know how the hell you let the heat of the moment get to you like that where you forget about them ducats. You at the cusp of your max contract to pull this. So now you go from a guy about to be maxed out to about to be shipped out.
No, see, you make a great point because the people are not, people might be looking at this story, don't realize, people watching the show might not realize. Here's a fact. Facts are DeAndre Ayton's coming from a rookie contract to get ready to get a max contract. He's literally sitting there and doing that. And Fig, he pissed off the coach of the year. If the coach of the year, Monty Williams, is he says something bad about you and he's putting out there that this dude has his problems and everything else problematic. Do you think the rest of the NBA is going to take a look at that and you think he's going to get his max contract? What you think, Fig?
Oh, I think he's going to get his max contract. He's just going to be with another team. I mean, I love Monty Williams, and as a man, as a coach, his personality, his beliefs, character, all of that. I would just say Monty Williams is a good man. But let me ask you this: does anybody on this panel think that they got full usage out of DeAndre Ayton? I don't think so. I mean, it's a bunch of 3-point shooting and cutting and mid-range shots and stuff like that. This dude runs up and down the court. He blocks shots, and occasionally he gets a putback and a lob. So are they utilizing this dude to the best of his abilities? I don't think so. And when you down 40, 50 points, you sitting on the benches, the fourth quarter time is running out, and you want me to go back in the game, y'all don't give me the ball in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter. Now we at the end of the game. We getting blown out in the game 7. I'm going to go back in and do what?
That don't matter.
All right.
The best, a man once told me on this show 27 times, the best ability is availability.
At the time, hold on.
Dave,
hold on.
Now, you're right, Dave.
At the time, I'm done. Okay.
Go ahead.
At the time.
No, at the time, what I was trying to say at the time was we was talking about Kyrie Irving and not showing up the games and playing.
I know where it was from, but you said something that was valid and important. You can't switch it when you want to use it. The best ability is availability. I'm the coach. I'm looking to bring my dude in.
Coaches ain't got no power. We know coaches don't have real power in the NBA. That's reserved for star players. That's reserved for star players. Coaches don't got no power in the NBA.
All right, well, Dave, here's a fact. Facts it is. OKC is stepping up to the plate right now. They want DeAndre Ayton. They got the money to get DeAndre Ayton. But they're not talking about max contract like Fig is saying. They got the money, the most money to do some things in the league and everything else. Do you think he should get maxed out right now and get that contract for what you've seen and what you're hearing and what's happening right now? Because you're the business bully. How would you handle this business-wise if you're OKC?
If I'm OKC, if I can get him for cheaper than max contract, then I'm going to do it all day. Listen, it's not what you're worth. It's what you negotiate. In this case, the Jewish guy who represents him is going to get his 3% for. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the negotiation of your team and being able to make that situation happen. But if I can get it for cheap, I'm gonna get it for cheap. It's not like, I mean, I remember in '98, me and Talent got these two prostitutes. Wait, I'm saying too much. But let's just say that we saved a bunch of money. That's just kind of how it goes. And I mean, it's not about the quality of what happens, Frank. It's about the amount of money you're able to save. That's just strictly business 101.
Technicality. Technically, if we never paid that night, we did not.
It was. That's right. That's
Again,
correct.
the views and the opinions of the comics on this does not.
All I'm gonna say is to Fig that night, Fig. Woo! The best
Again, the views,
the availability.
the views and the opinions are not those of Chamber Mills. Amir, your brother played obviously in the NBA and everything else like that right now. Obviously, I can't ask you what you think he would think, but being that you were around a lot of NBA players in your time and everything else, you might have a better assumption of what we would think like this. How you think the rest of the NBA players would be thinking about this if you had to assume?
Well, you know what's so funny is it's interesting that you even brought that up because Quadus is kept, even though, what's today, the 17th, so 3 days from now will mark 22 years since we lost him. But he was actually about to get his first kind of max contract when we lost him. Whether, people don't really know that, but that's a true story. So to add to this, that little tidbit, that is what makes this such a bit of a quandary for everybody, because in all fairness, that's what you play for. You play for these contracts that hopefully will allow you to set yourself up and your family, so that you can do some things to help take care or help alleviate some of the issues and pressures of what your family's going through. Aiden in this particular, scenario, he should have gone back in the game. Look, the bottom line is this. Fig may be right about saying that the powerful players have more pull than the coaches, but the reality of it all is the player's job is to go out there and execute based off of what the coach is asking of you. That's the bottom line. That's what your job is. That's why they bring you on board. That's why you're part of the squad. The fun thing about this in this particular case is going to a situation like OKC, while he may end up getting max money, he'll probably put himself in a position where he may, unfortunately, not see a sniff at a championship ever again. So now he's got to weigh max money versus being in a situation where he had the opportunity to go to a chip. We all know this. We all are fans of the game. And a lot of times what happens is you get to the chip once or whatever, and then sometimes you never get back. So you got to figure that part out and see whether or not that makes sense for you in terms of, is it money or is it trying to go and win for what we all measure everybody by, which is championships. Man. So this should be interesting.
Yeah, that's if you even get to the NBA championship again. Rodney Perry, are you sitting on the fence on this one, man, or were you thinking about DeAndre Ayton? What are your thoughts after you hear everything?
We rarely see this black on black. You see like a white coach signaling the guy out, and then the guy just kind of fade into oblivion. So to see this black on black is really interesting. But that's kind of a good thing in the grander scheme of things to see something like this. But I think DeAndre Ayton is going to get his money. He's going to get probably a lesser contract in terms of years. He's probably gonna get his money for a season. They're gonna be like, we don't want to opt into your life for no 5 years, but here goes, and they're gonna give him $40 million for a year, something like that, and then he's gonna be happy. He's gonna get a chance to perform and prove he's a team player, and they'll all be forgotten. I mean, we see it time and time again. Just because things don't work out in one place. I mean, now what he doesn't want is a history of this. We don't want them to look at him and start to stack things up. Right now, he doesn't have a history of none of this. He's got one isolated incident. And so I think he's still in a decent place. Did he go back in the game? No. Was he available? No. But it's the first time. So I think he's not done. I think he's going to get a substantial chunk of money to play maybe somewhere for 1 year, and then it'll go from there.
All right, so next up, man, I don't know if you guys heard this, but the CBS affiliate out of Philadelphia is reporting that James Harden is not, and I repeat, is not going to get the max contract offer from the Sixers that he was looking for his 3-year, $161 million. For 3 years, $161 million. James Harden, the CBS affiliate, is reporting that they're not going to do that. Anything else? And it could be for a couple of reasons. They're not reporting the reason why, but clearly, T, the Sixers are upset that Harden is not the Harden that they thought he was when they were traded for him or anything else. Do you think that James Harden is going to be a Philadelphia 76er when the year rolls back around? Because he literally can opt out. Once that they don't opt in and get that contract, and he becomes a unrestricted free agent. T. So you think Harden is going to be literally a Philadelphia 76er this year, T? What's your take?
I don't think so. If they don't come with the bread, he's shown us the last couple of teams that he's become a bread chaser. If you go back, I don't know, 6-7 seasons, we still could get a glimpse of I think I could win a chip Harden. As of recent, though, he's a chip chaser. He looks like he's a chip chaser. So if he's looking at if the maximum is 160, and they come back with 105, 110, and he's like 50 million, I'm leaving on the table. There's a lot of desperate teams out there, I believe, will give him that. And he'll go, because at this point, especially after this disappointing season, I think at this point, man, is about stacking these chips. I don't think Harden's that kind of player that's going to get hung up on that championship anymore.
All right, Fig, talk to me. What you think? You think Harden is going to be out from the 76ers?
I'm not really sure, man. I think the 76ers are in a tough position because of what they gave up to get Harden. They gave up like 2 first-round picks, Ben Simmons, Curry, Andre Drummond. They gave up like their whole damn bench, you know what I mean, for James Harden, and to let him go after a quarter of a season. Let's call it a half a season. For half a season, that would be detrimental to the 76ers organization. So they got to give him something substantial. There's a max and then there's a super max. I don't believe they'll offer him the super max, but they got to at least offer him a max contract in order for him to stay. Because like Talent said, somebody else will.
Dave, you are in Philadelphia. You probably heard more about this than we did, but I'll just throw this out to you and ask you, as a Sixer fan, do you want James Harden to come back? Because the ball's in his court. Philly's not making that offer. If they don't give him the money that he's supposed to get, he could bounce. What you think, Dave?
I'm so happy Michael Shorten's not here right now. Okay. let's just start it right there. On a personal note, he's one of my dearest friends, but I'm happy he's not here because I can't stand him. I told y'all Harden was going to do what Harden does. The thing that I need y'all to keep in mind very quickly is that we know that Harden is not the Harden of 5-6 years ago. We get that. I think that I remember one time Rodney Perry and I got in a conversation. I'll be quick about this, and I asked him about the Monique show on BET, and he said to me, Dave, the thing of it is Seinfeld got 5 years to find its legs. We had a quarter of a season. Now, because I'm a realist, I just want to let y'all know, if anybody wants to have a slightly used Harden jersey, I have one available just because I don't think it's going to be relevant in 6 months. Frank?
Hey, slightly used. It must be the one he wore.
I took the beard hairs out. Talent.
Dave, don't feel bad. I got a Kyrie Irving jersey upstairs. I got a Kyrie Irving Celtics jersey, bro. I thought I was going to have that for a long time.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me ask a question. Don't they have a company that if your star leaves your team, you get to trade in your jersey and get another jersy?
I don't know, but I'm not a jersey trader though. Like, it's still my team jersey.
It's my team.
Yeah.
Not either. Rodney Perry.
I watch a lot of players come and go, but I'm still gonna put that green on.
Rodney Perry, what's your take on this, bro? What you think? James Harden gonna be a 76er at the end, beginning of next season?
I mean, the tough part is that if you're a Knicks fan, that you got probably a million jerseys.
I knew it. I knew it.
You walked right into that one.
I knew, I hate this.
Listen, Knicks fans will admit the New York Knicks is where old star players go.
Not your turn, Fig.
Go ahead, Rodney Perry.
All right.
I knew it.
James Harden is in a unique spot. He's coming up on a contract year. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I know what he should do. He should get his body together. He should get healthy. He hasn't been healthy for 2 years. He should get healthy, and he should come in and play like he played. And James Harden is not done by any stretch of the imagination. He's still a Hall of Fame player, and I think he'll show that this year coming up, and he's going to get his money whether they like it or not. And what they're going to end up doing is having to pay his ass way more.
I think that's going to happen. Anyway, we got to get ready to wrap up the show. Before we wrap up the show, I'm going to ask you guys, the Heat are playing the Celtics tonight. T, who you got? Tonight's game, not the series, tonight's game. Game 1 in Miami. Who you got, T?
I'm going to go ahead and get Miami, man, at home.
Okay. So you got Miami hit Fig. Who you got?
Yeah.
Miami tonight in Miami. The Celtics playing Miami in Miami tonight. Game 1. Who you got, Fig?
Honestly, I don't know, but because the Heat are playing at home and the Celtics just came over that, just got over that emotional Game 7 win. They might be on a little bit of a low and not fully themselves. I'll pick Miami for Game 1.
Okay. Dave.
Yeah. I'm going to go Miami. I feel like that's what it's going to be.
Okay. And Rodney Perry, who you got?
I'm going against these guys, but I hate to go with your ass.
I might be taking Miami tonight.
You take Miami. I think Boston gonna come in hot off that win. The random dude that come out of nowhere shooting the ball, he won't make a shot.
Yeah, he's not. I think Boston.
Williams.
I think Boston steals the game, but not this early. You know what I mean?
I think Boston will steal the game this early because they just came off. Miami been off for so long, they ain't got the rhythm going on. I think Boston. They only have one day off. It's
Miami. You don't need no days. It's Miami, bro. They could beat y'all in thongs and bikinis. Let me tell you something. Give them a minute. Second game, I might shift because I think y'all can steal it by the second. But that first game at home it's a bit much.
Like they say.
I think Boston is a better team,
I agree, but I think Jimmy Bucket's going to show up first.
Well, yeah.
Hey, one thing I'll say is this. You better hope them young boys don't go to Miami and start partying. Because Miami is a party town. If you get caught up in their Miami life,
those boys are still mad from losing to Miami in the bubble. They are not partying.
But I don't know, Frank, because that light-skinned dude that hit all them threes, he looked suspect. He looked like, watch his legs.
I smell a dollar bet. I smell a dollar bet.
What he hit. I don't think he's going to hit nothing, son.
I smell a dollar bet.
Listen, I'll take it. But I'm a bet. When I bet, I got to cover my money tracks. So I'm going to send it to Rodney and it'll go to you. Rodney going to mail that bitch.
I got to call Stacks and see if I can get my money back from Stacks.
Yo, Rodney said he's gonna mail you your money. That's the funniest shit ever. I'm gonna mail.
So the Celtics, let's see, the Celtics, they did the Brooklyn with Kyrie the first series, KD. They did obviously Giannis the second series, and now they got Jimmy Bucket. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yo, that's the show. Thank you all for joining the show. I appreciate that and everything else. Tomorrow we have got to talk about some NFL because there's some big thing. Deshaun Watson's case, man. I didn't get to it today. But the stuff I've been reading about Deshaun Watson's, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to talk like I'm going to be here tomorrow. Sorry. If y'all want to do the show, y'all can. I'm going to be in the air tomorrow this time. So we'll discuss this offline, but we'll figure it out.
I mean, we're here for it, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah. Anyway, y'all, that's the show. The show's called Box Seats. Thank you all for watching. That's Talent. That's Fig. That's Dave, the business bully. That's Rodney Perry. Again, we will be back soon. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.